is going on, everyone? We are back with our NFL playoff predictions. Now, last week I went through and predicted the entire playoffs. I did the wild card in depth, but I wanted to revisit each round to take a look back at the games that were played to see how close our predictions were, and then look ahead to the upcoming week's games. So, looking back at the wild card weekend, first up was Raiders and Texans, and this one, as I predicted, went the way of the Houston Texans. And this one came pretty darn close to exactly how I predicted it. Connor Cook, first career start rookie. I said he was going to struggle, and he did. 18 for 45, three touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Their offense did not look good at all. Latavius Murray managed just 39 yards on 12 carries. And for what I said, ultimately coming down to defense, the Texans' defense played great, and they did just enough on offense. Brock Osweiler actually played one of his better games all season. So the Texans won that one. We got that one right. Next up was the Lions and the Seahawks. And again, we got that prediction right. And again, it was pretty close to how I predicted it. I expected the Lions to lose by at least 21. We were very close. They lost by 20. But as I said, the Lions played so badly the last 3 weeks of the regular season, and they looked pretty much the same in this game in Seattle. I said it was going to be hard for them to play in Seattle. Now, what I didn't expect was for Thomas Rawls to go off. He went 27 carries for 161 yards and a touchdown. Russell Wilson had 2 touchdowns. The Seahawks played nearly a perfect game, and they easily handled the Lions. So 2 for 2 in the predictions there. Moving on now, AFC, it is the Dolphins and the Steelers, and this one we got correct as well. And this one I was a little surprised at how easily the Steelers won. I thought the Dolphins might put up a little bit more of a fight, but they did not. Matt Moore actually didn't play bad. He was 29 of 36, but the Steelers, and specifically Le'Veon Bell, monster game as he had 2 touchdowns. Antonio Brown had 2 as well. Ben Roethlisberger had 2 interceptions, but he only threw the ball 18 times. He did get hurt late in that one as well, so we got to take that into account when we go on to the next round for the Steelers. But a dominating performance from the Steelers as they win, and we go 3 for 3 so far. Just one game to go, and that was Packers-Giants, and what a game that was. And I got a little worried my perfect score would end with this one because the Giants looked so good in that first half, but everything turned with that last play in the first half, the Hail Mary. I don't know how Aaron Rodgers does it. Obviously, there is a little bit of a science to it. He does put some work into his Hail Marys, but that touchdown catch to end the first half changed everything. It was all Packers in the second half. Aaron Rodgers doing what he does best at home, 4 touchdown passes. Eli and the Giants offense, as I thought, just not good enough, could not keep up with the Packers offense. And Odell Beckham completely disappeared from this game. Some crazy drops from him. Had 11 targets, just 4 catches for 28 yards. So that game, as I expected, all 4 of those games, we were pretty spot on. We go 4 for 4. So heading into this divisional round, not really much to say exactly because I've already kind of predicted these games as well, and I still kind of feel the same way. We're still going to go through each one. First one is going to be Falcons and Seahawks. And in Madden, you see the Falcons have the edge, 90-86 in overall. And I think, honestly, as I said last week, the best chance for the Falcons in this game is that they're playing this game at home. If this one was in Seattle, I would give the Falcons 0 shot at winning the game. Now, they do have the best offense in the league, which is definitely going to help them, but boy, did the Seahawks defense look good last week. Now, I know Detroit's offense is nowhere near the same level as the Atlanta Falcons, but still, there's just something about the Seattle Seahawks when they get into the playoffs. They just take it up an extra notch. As I talked about again last week as well, they've been there before. They're experienced with the playoff. Deep experience. Some veteran players. Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor. The defensive line is very good. Russell Wilson obviously been there. He's gone deep into the playoffs. I believe every season he has been in the league. So that's got to count for something. I mean, yes, you do have the best offense in the league for the Falcons. Matt Ryan played very well this year. Definitely an MVP contention. He threw for just under 5,000 yards, had 38 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions. They have a 1,000-yard rusher in Devontae Freeman. Another good running back behind him in Tevin Coleman. Julio Jones had 1,400 yards receiving. Their defense is pretty good as well, but ultimately, just something about this game, the Falcons, the Seahawks, I just feel like the Seahawks are going to do enough to pull this one out. So this will be the first minor upset here in these playoffs as the Falcons are the 2 seed. But I'm going to go Seahawks in this one. They will head to the NFC Championship, and we'll talk about in a little bit who I think they are going to be meeting in that game. But before we get there, we've got to talk about the next matchup. In this one, absolutely definitely going to be the easiest one to predict, and I think the one with the maybe 199.9% chance of happening, Texans and Patriots, look at the gap here in Madden, 93-79 in overall. I know the Texans just won a playoff game, but you obviously, if you watched any of that Texans-Raiders game, you could see the gap between those two teams. As bad as the Texans are, the Raiders without Derek Carr are simply awful. So you can't take a whole lot out of the game. Now, the Texans do have a good defense. Jadeveon Clowney looked very good against the Raiders. He was causing some major problems, and their secondary pretty good. A.J. Bouye is not a bad corner at all. So they have some talent, but on offense, Brock Osweiler, yes, he did play maybe his best game of the year last week, but can he do that against the Patriots? No, I really don't think he can. I don't think this offense is going to produce much. I honestly kind of picture this game going much like that Texans-Raiders game last week, where it will easily be probably a double-digit victory for the Patriots, and I could see Osweiler throwing 2 or 3 picks in that game. Patriots just too talented. They have Tom Brady. Obviously, the offense for the Patriots, even with the Texans' good defense, I don't think they're going to have any issue moving the ball. And then on defense, I think their defense is going to be just simply too much for the Texans to handle. And I'm going to go with a very easy victory for the Patriots. Now, in comparison, that Seahawks-Atlanta game, I could easily see that game going either way. I would not be surprised at all if the Falcons end up winning that game. I'm going to go with the Seahawks, but this one I would be incredibly surprised if the Texans are even remotely close to having a shot to win this game. And if they win that game, I think that would be one of the biggest upsets we've seen in the playoffs in a very long time. So I'm going to go Patriots. I think that's a pretty safe guess. They'll be moving on to the AFC Championship, and we're going to talk right now about who I think they are going to be meeting in that game, which is going to be this next matchup, the Steelers at the Chiefs. And this one I think could end up being the best game of the weekend. Well, it's hard, I think. It's going to be hard to beat Cowboys and Packers, but this matchup, I think, might sneak up on some people and be a pretty good game. Now, you can see Madden did give the edge just slightly to the Steelers, 89-88, and I think really this game is going to be that close. The Chiefs have a very good defense. The Steelers' defense looks surprisingly well against the Dolphins. I know, again, another backup quarterback. Now, Matt Moore had played a couple more games in comparison like Connor Cook, but the Steelers' defense looked pretty good against the Dolphins. I don't know if they'll look that well against the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't have a crazy offense in comparison. The Steelers have a very high-octane offense. Now, what I mentioned earlier, Ben Roethlisberger did get hurt at the end of that game last week. He was in a walking boot for their press conference. He said he was going to be ready, and I think there's no way he doesn't play the game. And while he's not a very mobile quarterback, he does use his legs to move around the pocket. He's very good at staying in the pocket, looking downfield. What does the injury do to him? Is that going to hamper him? This Chiefs defense, I can expect them to blitz him a lot, try to get to him a lot, make him uncomfortable, get some hits on him, get him to the ground. But even doing that, the Steelers still have Le'Veon Bell, who, I mean, the Steelers, honestly, they could hand it off to him 35 times in the game. They could throw screen passes. They have some creativity when it comes to getting Le'Veon Bell the ball. And I think if he can do what he did against the Dolphins, against the Chiefs, there's no chance the Chiefs are going to win this game. I think he is just simply too talented. And then when the Chiefs focus on him, then you have Antonio Brown, the speedster, down the field with the long balls. Ben Roethlisberger is so good at finding Antonio Brown downfield that I think it is going to be tough for the Chiefs to win this game. Now, again, like the Falcons, they do have the home field advantage. Alex Smith, a veteran quarterback. Their offense not quite as talented. They do have Jason Kelce, very good tight end. He looked very good in Week 17. They've had that week of rest. So this game, I mean, I honestly could see it going either way. But like the Seahawks with the Steelers, there's just something about this team. They've been here before. Ben Roethlisberger, well-versed when it comes to playoff football. And I think that the Steelers will just find some way and somehow to win this game no matter what happens. The Chiefs, I just think, don't have enough weapons. Tyreek Hill, I don't think he can do enough to win them this game. Their running backs are okay. There's just nothing that really tells me that, yes, the Chiefs have what it takes to win this game. So I'm going to go Steelers in this one to match up against the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. And now the final game of the divisional round weekend. In this one, the granddaddy of them all. This might be the best playoff game in the entire playoffs. Packers, Cowboys. Cowboys get the edge according to Madden, 92-88 in overall. But honestly, I don't know if that sort of thing is going to matter in this game. Aaron Rodgers just quite simply one of the best clutch quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. I mean, him, Tom Brady, right up there, 1-2 in terms of being able to perform on a very big stage. And that's the one big question about the Cowboys. They have two key rookies on their offense, Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. Can they step up now in the first real, truly meaningful game this year, playoff football, It's a different situation than the regular season. Yes, they played well in the regular season, but can they do it in the playoffs? Can Dak Prescott hold up as he has all year in this divisional round matchup? Now, the one thing the Cowboys have going for them is they're playing at home. I think this would be an entirely different game if they were playing in Lambeau Field, but being at home, I think that gives them a huge advantage. And Aaron Rodgers probably not going to have his top wide receiver in Jordy Nelson. He got injured, so Randall Cobb, who's just coming off an injury, is he going to be healthy enough? He's got a guy named Geronimo that he's throwing to. So while Aaron Rodgers is somewhat of a Superman when it comes to the quarterback position, but the Cowboys have a very good defense, and I know Aaron Rodgers just beat one of the better defenses in the league, and the one defense that was able to beat the Cowboys. But I just feel like in Dallas, this one inside, the Cowboys, they'll try and play the time possession game where they try to feed Ezekiel Elliott. And I think ultimately the Cowboys win this one. I think it's a very, very close game. I could easily see the Packers winning this one with Aaron Rodgers, but ultimately I'm going to go Cowboys over the Packers. So that means the NFC Championship, I'm going to say, is going to be Seahawks at the Cowboys. And the AFC Championship, I'm going with Steelers at the Patriots. And that is where we're going to stop for this week. I gave my full playoff predictions last week, so if you want to see those, go back and watch last week's episode. But we'll see how we do this week. We went 4 for 4 last week. Can we go 4 for 4 yet again? If we keep this up, we're going to have to get a job on ESPN or something like that. But I do want to hear your predictions, so leave a comment down below letting me know who you think is going to win the games this weekend. Do you think Aaron Rodgers can take down the Cowboys? Do you think there's any shot the Patriots lose? Which I guess anything could happen, but that one I think would be definitely crazy. And I'm going to ask you for some lottery numbers if you predict that one. But that is going to be it for this one, though. That is the divisional round matchup predictions. I will see you next week for the championship games. We'll see what teams we find there. And regardless, I just hope we see some good football this weekend, because some of these games this past weekend were pretty boring and over pretty fast. So hopefully we see some good football. But that is it for this one. If you enjoyed the episode, please go ahead and give it a like. I would really appreciate it. And subscribe to see any future videos that I make. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.